Welcome everyone to our second webinar as B1 Solution. How SAP and B1 Solution will play an instrumental role in your private equity or M&A process. We have a full panel, as I was saying earlier, today, full of experts with different background coming from different companies. We have something very special planned for you today. So without further ado, I will give the mic to your host, Rui Candido.
Hello all, thank you very much for joining. My name is Rui Candido. I'm the Regional Director for the Americas with B1 Solutions, and I am with the company since the inception in 2008. So who is B1 Solutions? B1 Solutions is an SAP partner, a global SAP partner focused mainly on multinational companies, specialized in SAP ERP systems, mostly SAP Business One and SAP S/4HANA. And we are specialists in global rollouts. As I mentioned, we were founded in 2008. Our headquarters is in Switzerland, and we currently operate in 27 countries, and we count with more than 500 customers in 60 countries around the world. Today with us on this second webinar, we have João, who is my colleague in B1 Solutions. He's the country manager, and he counts with more than 15 years of SAP Business One experience in different countries around the world. I mean, I think he's older with Business One than me. And we also have Sarp, Sagnak and Lonnie Wiliams from one of our customers, CPM. They are our customers since 2014. And they will introduce themselves a little bit later and talk a little bit about CPM as well. And last but not least, we have also the presence of Ronald Keusch from SAP, and he will introduce also himself shortly. Let's go. So Ron, welcome to our second webinar. Who is Ron and who is SAP? Let us know.
Great. Well, thanks, Mario. So Ron Keusch, I'm part of SAP's Midmarket Strategic Innovations Group. And so we focus on developing new routes to markets through private equity, advisory, and selection firms. And to force multiply, we collaborate and co-innovate with our partners like B1 Solutions on mid-market solutions. So a couple of things about SAP. First of all, obviously, I think people know SAP, large enterprise software company. But what people get surprised about, and really the perception, is that SAP is focused on large enterprise, when in fact, 80% of SAP's customers are actually mid-market. And so when we define mid-market, we're defining it as 1 billion in revenue and below. So we have actually over 350,000 customers globally. We span in 25 industries. And what's kind of interesting is last year, 1/3 of our new customers in North America were customers that were either private equity, growth equity, or VC related or finance companies. So that's sort of the reason why we've developed now this strategic innovations team. And you can go to the next slide. And so what we do is we partner with private equity firms. We become their one point of contact. And then we bring in resources to these deals that they work on. So for example, a private equity might have a particular firm that specializes in a certain industry. And so we work, first of all, holistically with the private equity. We educate and inform them. Once we've got a working relationship, we bring in, for example, in an engagement, now not only the resources internally from SAP, That could be expertise in our industry business units. It could be architects. But we also then bring in the right partner in the right vertical at the right time. And so we'll talk more, for example, how B1 Solutions, how we engage with them in our engagements. But the point here is, again, that we're able to bring these resources in. And then as we rinse and repeat these type of engagements, it really de-risks a lot of the projects that people are doing. As I mentioned to you, we bring that relationship capital, and certainly we bring the executive alignment into these deals. When you look at some of the M&A deals that we talk about, from a pre-close, it's important then that you bring in the right resources, for example, a TSA, and strategize on those TSAs. What is the deployment in a merger and acquisition, for example? Is it global or regional? And then is it greenfield, is it brownfield? And what are the strategies that you need to embrace that really gives you a heads up on these type of engagements? So that's what we do on our side in the Strategic Innovations Group.
Thank you, Ron. Very, very, very interesting. Let's go to João. João, can you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about B1 Solutions and our experience with PEs and M&A processes?
Yes. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks. Thank you for attending. Lonnie, Sarp, Ron, Mario, Lucille. So giving you some background about myself. Although I'm a young guy, not that all the others on the table are old, but I've been working with SAP and with IT for almost 20 years from today, so 2001, and it was in July, so it's almost 20 years. And one of the things that by nature, by design, or even by luck, is that I've always worked, especially in the last 10 years, with global companies and with private equity funds that were acting globally or locally. And now in my role at B1 Solutions in the UK, as the country managers, the UK is indeed one of the countries with more multinational companies and with more subsidiaries and with more and with a lot of private equity funds investing in UK companies. And in fact, is that we see private equity funds today expanding, like Ron was saying, their portfolio into the upper mid-market and investing in companies globally to increase their revenue, or even to continuously invest in vertical or in some specific areas that they operate in, or that they have some leverage, either by networking, either by capital, either by technology. And this is something that we actively have been supporting our customers in the last couple of years. And we have customers that act with SAP Business One with a one-tier strategy, in which SAP Business One is deployed globally from the headquarters, and then in all the other countries, means that geographically the expansion is with SAP Business One. And also we are witnessing a lot of the adoption into the mid-market for smaller solutions or for less complicated solutions to support the geographical expansion. Ron was mentioning something that plays a critical role nowadays. TSA, for the ones that doesn't know what it means. Tax, statutory, and accounting regulations or requirements are what sometimes drives the pain of deploying the system and working with a single point of contact and with a company and with a solution that starts designing and architecting since day one, working as part of the strategy. IT is strategy. IT is supporting the businesses every day. Just before this meeting, and in fact, it was I was even telling the customer, it seems that it was reversed for this workshop. I received a phone call to join an emergency meeting because we needed to switch from North Korea deployment. North Korea deployment. Korea deployment to the Japan. Mario, you are laughing. Can I make some mistakes? To the Japanese implementation, because the setting up the company in Korea was delayed. So this is something that we need also to have the flexibility, the knowledge, the teams ready in order to be flexible without impacting the business plan, the costing, and of course strengthening the relationship on our customers. Another thing that is very critical for private equity companies is to have a clear understanding not only of this flexibility, but also on the cost model of the solutions that they are deploying. Having a business plan, sticking to the business plan, to the what is the bottom line of this P&L, and on the investments. When you work with a solution and with a company that, in which you have agreed the rates, the times, the templates, gives you much more accuracy in what will be the cost and the time to reach a market and to deploy the route to market strategy that these companies have. And of course, companies that have in their DNA, in their core business, investing to evaluate and to exit, this means a lot. This is critical, and this is what sometimes makes the difference in being successful and reaching a country, a market, a region faster than the competition. Or even, and on this during this last 18 months, we have witnessed this, and we will going to see much more of this. The different regions are recovering from this recession in different flavors at different speeds, and companies are also shifting their business, their resources, their money to the markets that can help to streamline much better their cash flow and their margins, and having a system that is not impacting, that can reach a market and they were not prepared, or even to expand the team fast, is something that nowadays plays a critical role. And a company like us that only have this on the DNA: rollout, repeat, having local presence, being global, actively collaborating with SAP, something that we have been working since day one, a win-win-win relationship that we have. This gives the customers the confidence, gives the headquarters data, and gives a private equity company also the data to measure, to track their investments. And in the end, this is what they want. Again, I will say it as many times as needed: IT is strategy, and this is something that successful companies have on the top of their minds. This is what successful companies know that will help them to succeed and to be better and to be ahead of the competition. It's not by chance that we have so many companies investing and putting their money in new technologies and embracing this digital transformation, not today, but that have started some years ago. So this is what I can share with you, Mark, for now, but you can ask me whatever you want.
Thank you, João. I'm sorry I was laughing, but you said twice North Korea, so I thought very interesting, very nice. I mean, I was trying to imagine who could be implementing Business One in North Korea, but okay.
Well, we implemented in Iraq, so it will not be a challenge.
You know, I have a very interesting story, and when I went to the expo in Shanghai and I visited the pavilion of North Korea, and I asked Uzi, our CEO back then, since I was doing a big project in Shanghai, if I could go in one of the weekends to North Korea to visit, and he said, no way, I will not approve you to travel to North Korea. I spent 110 days that year in Shanghai alone, and I remember that story like it was yesterday. So yeah, it was just a funny moment.
One day.
I think this webinar is going to be known for this event. Okay, so let's move on. I heard you a couple of days ago when you were talking with Ron. You were asking Ron why does SAP has a dedicated team for the PE and the M&A? So Ron, do you want to, João, do you want to elaborate more the question, or should we allow Ron to go directly to the?
Yeah, that is the question, and what I would like Ron to explain to the audience is what we have been discussed is why does SAP have this dedicated team, and how is Ron's team leveraging this business unit and this and leveraging their knowledge and their expertise to the customers and to the leads that SAP has nowadays. This is what I would like Ron also to share with us. So Ron,
sure.
What is the secret behind this? What is what can you share with us?
So a couple of things. I mean, we're all aware now the whole acceleration, the growth in the PE space, right? So it's dominant. The question is, there's the investment life cycle, right? So from our perspective, obviously with the PE firms, we're engaged with them, right? We provide information, right? We're the ambassador. We enable them in terms of best practices, provide the product expertise, and then certainly the relationship capital. But more importantly, in the investment life cycle, everything's time to market. And it's so important when there's an acquisition like that, that in the M&A world, there's a lot of due diligence that needs to be done. And that's, part of that can be executed by SAP. Part of it can be executed through a partner that we bring in. But the fact of the matter is that it's the faster ROI. Certainly there's constraints with the TSA, right? And that you need to work in that framework. Otherwise, it's a high penalty cost. It's prohibitively costly if you exceed that timeline. So we've got a lot of private equity firms that, because they're familiar with the SAP platforms, because we brought in a partner, we're able to kind of cookie cutter that, right? A rinse and repeat. And so what happens now is the private equity is comfortable because they know the expectations, they know the timeline, they know the approximate cost. And the fact of the matter is now they don't even have to go through an RFP, because that whole process is now accelerating. And that's where I think the value that our group brings together, right? It's the relationship capital and being the ambassador to one point of contact to that private equity firm.
Thank you,
Great. So João, something pops up in my mind, which is, can you give us some examples how B1 Solutions is supporting private equities? Just even if you don't mention the names of our customers because of NDA concerns, can you share with us some examples?
Well, we support customers in many ways. I think that one of the best, and maybe this is one of our biggest strengths, is the experience that we have in understanding those details of the countries that the companies want to move to. This is something that is the big benefits of being a unique point of contact with a global expertise. The example that I was giving about North Korea, and in fact it was just Korea, is just an example that after understanding during the assessment, during this sales cycle and acquisition cycle and audit, sometimes we also are called like SAP to help on the audits on the systems that on the legacy systems that are being put away and replaced by SAP solutions, on those requirements that can be local business practice or a TSA requirement can be one of our strengths to assess it and then to explain it in the local language to the end users, to the key users, but also to the headquarters. So we are speaking and we are transmitting and mitigating the risk of having a lot of loss in translation issues and the information that is missed during this assessment. Of course, after understanding the customer strategy, after understanding what is the roadmap of their acquisitions, of the expansion, because we start with an acquisition, but then we move to an expansion and business development stage. We can and will leverage the template that we tailor for this company, that of course we try to use as much as possible of the SAP standard, but then we add that extra flavor, those 15-20% of tailor-made solution that makes the business unique. And then on each one of the locations, we mitigate those business practices that in some countries that are very different, and that requires that not only the expertise but also to transmit this information in the native language to our customers. And this local knowledge is something that a company is benefiting from, having just one guy to call if something is happening in country A, B, C, or D. Of course, smart companies understand that this saves them a lot of time, a lot of headaches, and in the end, it has a very positive impact on their return of investment, because they will benefit from a partner and from a solution that is always on the edge and covering and mitigating the risk on the expansion, not only on the TSA, but also on the technology and on the compliance level. So this is some of the benefits that this combination of SAP and B1 solutions can in fact bring to a company.
Thank you, João. I think it's now time for us to kind of bring the stars of the show, someone that can attest a little bit of what Ron and João mentioned earlier. So we have, as I mentioned in the beginning, our one of our customers, CPM, with us, and representing CPM, we have Sarp, Sagnak, and Lonnie Wiliams. And I would like to start with Sarp and ask Sarp, who is Sarp, and what is your role within CPM? And if you allow me, I would also like to ask how CPM selected SAP as their ERP global solution, and how come, you know, B1 Solutions was the selected partner. So can you talk a little bit about yourself and CPM and this relationship that is now going for 7 years?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having us, Mario. It is really a privilege to be together with you today. CPM is an acquisition company. Our roots go back to late 1800s. We are an American company, and then we started going abroad and expanding our business. We opened up China and Europe operations somewhere in the mid-1950s. And this is basically what you're seeing is where we are on all over the world. I am with CPM as the ERP team leader. We bring years of ERP experience into process and ERP experience. And when we were faced with the challenge that we needed to have a single standard solution which would act as a platform, which could grow with us, which could enable us to support all the legislations and localizations that we have to cover as the ERP team. When we did this exercise, not a lot of vendors, well, basically were able to get shortlisted. SAP was one of them. SAP, of course, builds ERP software since 1970s, if I'm not mistaken. But there were a couple of other things as well, which basically not forced us, but allowed us to choose SAP. One, we wanted a stable partner who would keep on investing on the platform, who would make sure that we are always up to date, who also provides complete processes which we require and processes which we can extend going forward. So SAP became the global solution provider for us. But that is not enough. You can have basically this software, but you need a solid partner to deliver you the services as well, because obviously we didn't know anything about SAP Business One. We looked at who can cater to our needs globally. So the partner, you could have partners which are good in one geography or another geography, but we needed some partner who has a global footprint, who could speak the same language, whether it's Italian or Brazilian or Chinese or whatnot, together with us, who has a footprint. You don't need to be in all 250 countries, but the countries that you do business, you want the partner of service and partner of the solution provider to know these countries so that we can deploy accordingly. So when we added all of these up, we found B1 Solutions. We decided on Business One, even though SAP has a lot of products. And we really thought that this would be the platform which could scale, which could extend if we choose to, because you can't expect any ERP to solve all your problems. But SAP Business One had the unique selling points, like if you need a POS machine automation or a market automation, which we don't. Well, there are vendors out there which you can bolt onto SAP Business One. If you need additional features and functions, which are not normally governed by 95% of the companies, if you have a good provider, solution provider, and a service provider, you can get add-ons built or the software customized to your needs. So basically, it was a no-brainer for us at the end. This is how we chose the languages that the software spoke and our service provider spoke, the legislations that is supported by the software, and most of all, the support structure of the entire solution was one of the main reasons.
Thank you, Sarp. I think it's now also time for Lonnie to introduce himself. Lonnie, do you mind to tell us a little bit who you are and what do you do with CPM and how long are you with the company?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lonnie Wiliams. I have been with CPM since 2012. I've been doing ERP implementations a lot longer than that. As Sarp referenced, we started down the SAP Business One road in 2014 after going through that selection cycle. And my role has been implementing SAP Business One at all of our locations, which we're still in the process. We're still rolling out implementation because we are an acquisition company, and I don't see this ending anytime, in the near future. Was there other questions in there, Mario, that I missed?
No. Thank you. You introduced yourself and you explained very well what you are doing today with CPM. João, as a matter of fact, he passed me a sign that he wanted to address you a question. João, do you want to ask something to Lonnie? João?
Yeah, I was just unmuting myself.
Okay.
I wanted to ask Lonnie how today Business One is supporting the solution regarding compliance and at CPM.
SAP and the SAP Business One product has continued to grow or be enhanced, which with a company like CPM, where we're constantly growing and improving our business processes, it's a big thing for the software to be growing with us. So as SAP adds features and functionality into their product, CPM can take advantage of those as we're ready to as well. So it's really been a good partnership as far as from where we started back in 2012 to this day, where with the additional functionality, whether it be the service module, the project management, that SAP's continued to deliver, and we've been able to continue to take advantage of the enhancements.
Thank you, Lonnie. Ron, do you want to address any question to CPM directly from the SAP standpoint?
I believe you're muted, Ron.
You're muted, Ron.
Sorry about that. So I just want to understand a little bit more. Maybe you can tell the audience of how SAP provides that support, to your CPM strategy. Not only now, but in the upcoming years.
Sarp,
do you want me to answer, Ronald, or?
Sure. Yeah.
One thing which Lonnie mentioned is the ever-changing requirements. Take GDPR, for example, for Germany. We didn't need to do anything. SAP took care of it for us. When the legislation was becoming a mandatory requirement, SAP already provided that fix. That's one. The second thing is all the technology that we are evolving into. SAP is leading it, and basically it's in line also with what we got. As time passes, the tool supports more processes than when we originally bought it for. So all combined, we find SAP as well as B1 Solutions very sustainable partners, which help us leverage our business. Another example is today, our management could say, oh, we're going to open up a company in South America, X country. We would know if our software would cater to the local needs. And it's an impressive number of legislations which the software out of the box is supporting. Another example.
And I would imagine kind of the governance that you mentioned and legal, right? I mean, that's constantly changing.
Yeah, I mean, we are an acquisition company, and also we are a target of private equity. Every 3-4 years, our owner changes as well. So that would mean that we want razor sharp figures. It should come from one source of truth. And SAP provides all of it out of the box. If you want to enhance it as well, we are more than free to do it.
Well, just for the audience again, SAP actually invests over $4 billion a year in R&D. So when you think about many companies, that software companies, their revenues aren't even that. But the fact of the matter is, it's a huge investment going back to your point, Sarp, into these products, into the compliance, the ever-changing world now and the different countries. So it's a massive investment that SAP continues to make.
And one of the other things of governance, Ron, I know that I overshoot my time right now, but the software also makes sure that the figures that is coming out of the software are basically right on. You see what I mean? You cannot delete a record, which is a huge plus. You cannot change something which is already reported, which is another huge plus. We run the business by numbers right now. And our owners do the same as well. And SAP provides us that first and foremost.
that whole audibility, right, is
Yes.
just so important.
Great. So I have a question for Lonnie, and this is related to the challenges. So can you talk a little bit about the challenges of managing you know, a global business that runs 24/7 in 25 countries? Can you give us a little bit of light about that?
As you can expect, anytime you're running a system, what basically amounts to 24/7, because of our footprint, there is always maintenance that has to be done, and finding a downtime or finding the right time to do that maintenance. You know, we talked about the legal or legislation updates that SAP has to include in the databases or the legislations for each of these countries. And when you're spread out like this, there are updates to SAP almost nonstop, to where they're trying to meet some countries' new changes to their legal system. And applying those updates in a global organization based on the way we've created our licensing requires that we do have some downtime. So managing the downtime where we're not affecting the business's operations is a big challenge, you know. And then when you add into that, you know, you have your language issues, which is where having that provider that can bridge that gap with the local organization and the corporate team is also a challenge that has to be overcome, and our reseller B1 Solutions is part of that mechanism. So
Thank you.
You know, it's surprising how simple SAP has made, you know, for a global organization like us, how easily managing that global implementation has been.
Hey, Lonnie, question for you. So maybe take the audience through, when you acquire, for example, another country, you want to install B1. Take somebody through that process. How long does that take, and how's it get integrated so that there's a consolidated view, you know, up above?
So, for example, in 2019, we started a new location, new company in China, and from the opening ceremony where they opened the doors to the place, and when they started operating in SAP, and granted, there wasn't a lot of master data that was involved because it was literally a new company. We started that, and they were running, had been trained in SAP, and were running in the Business One environment within the first 30 days. Now, obviously, we have a competency center built up because we have all of these other locations that have SAP experience, and we're able to rely on the users, the people that are, whether it be in shipping or manufacturing, to be able to reach out and support the new users with the current processes. As far as the you know, keeping the global piece in place, we have our master data that is controlled at a global level, and it's using the customization that we've created to do this, that B1 Solutions has created for us. It's an SAP database that they log into, and they can create their item masters and business partners and just sync them into the database that they need to work in.
Well, this is where we really triangulate, right? That's the power, really, and I think kind of the purpose of even this webinar, right? It's having a, you know, customer with the right business partner and the right, you know, software company, and that can really accelerate that whole process.
It's key to your reporting as well when you start wanting to roll things up and actually report at a global level. If everybody has same business partner but at the different business partner in their own database. It makes it hard to roll those numbers together. And the same with the items. You know, if everybody's buying the same motor, but each one of them have a different item number for it, you don't really know what your spend is on it. So by consolidating, making that truly master data, you can start rolling those numbers up from a reporting perspective as well.
Great.
Thank you, Lonnie. You mentioned that in the beginning, you know, it was a small team. How was that process of enriching CPM with team members, and how easy it was for CPM to find resources and to train your own resources and train your own team to take over responsibilities from B1 Solutions? Because in one point in time, I remember that we our presence in projects was becoming lower and lower. So can you explain a little bit how easy or was that process for you and the team?
So when we initially started our implementation, the team, we went into it with the mindset that we were going to use B1 Solutions basically as the provider that was going to do the majority of the work. And on the first implementation, as you remember, Mario, we struggled with that. It was essentially down. The implementation team was your group, and then from the CPM side, it really came down to just me, and that wasn't a workable solution. So with our second implementation, we actually increased the CPM side of that, but we stayed engaged with B1 Solutions, learning from them all of the things that needed to be done to make this template work and to be able to roll it out. And by the time we'd made it through probably the first 3 to 4 full implementations, the locations, our internal team at that point had really been through all of the processes. We documented everything with the businesses that we were implementing, and we're starting to get a handle on the whole process of implementing a new local organization. And it just kind of enhanced from there. You know, obviously the more you do something, the better you get. And we've had many opportunities to continue to learn things to do and learn things not to do.
Perfect. I'm going to open a question here for Lonnie or Sarp, and you know, the first one comes can answer. But how can SAP facilitate companies like CPM, you know, acquisition companies or private equity firms? How do you see SAP facilitate that activity?
I can give you a quick answer. I think Sarp will have his side of it as well. But SAP needs to be able to communicate to the PEs and stuff like that. The ease at which these implementations or these locations can be put on the same platform using that template. As far as enabling it, you know, from my aspect, after having been through it and having done it, you know, they've given us the tools, they've given the everything we need to be able to do that. But people have to understand how easy it can be done.
Sarp, do you want to add a little bit more to the topic?
Yeah, I think Lonnie pretty much summarized it all, and you have the bullet points which are basically on the screen. But I will relate to the left hand side of the balloons. if the number of users is not over 400 or 500, SAP Business One is a no-brainer. I think that is something either Lonnie or I said. Your audience probably doesn't know how many users we have. We have around 800 plus users. We cater to 20 plus countries in all these continents. And our team, to the surprise of your audience, we are only like 7 strong, which cover and facilitate and support everyone. So basically, the tool Business One, it's really a no-brainer for private equity if they are buying and selling companies. It's really a small company solution. It hits all the check boxes that needs to be out there. And if you are in a position to outgrow it, you're still in the SAP stack. Having said that, the tool, we would love to see that it is enhanced even further with AI, with BW and everything else that is out there that the digital transformation is going to take us. So basically, SAP should keep on doing a good job on enriching the solution with the same price levels.
Thank you, Sarp. That last comment was excellent, extraordinary. Okay. I think we covered already a lot for the time slot that we are allowed to have. I want to ask João and Ron if they want to address any additional questions to CPM. João, Ron, any point that you want to ask, address, raise?
Ron, you want to go first?
No, it's pretty impressive that you've got, such a global deployment, right? The consolidations, in all these languages and all the compliance. So I just think it's amazing, a team, you mentioned 7 to really manage the whole processes. It's quite amazing.
Thank you. João?
Thank you.
Yes, well, I'm not surprised because we live it almost every day, but in fact, it's impressive what CPM has achieved, and it has on the roadmap to continuously to achieve with this team of the 3 of us, CPM, B1 Solutions, and SAP. And I don't have questions either to Sarp or to Lonnie. I just want to thank them for their time. And I think that their commitment of being here with us is also a sign of the trust and the relationship that we built and that we are building daily, and that we will continue to build. So thank you very much for your time today, and it really means something to me personally and for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, João. Thank you, Ron. Before we close and I want to open the opportunity for Lucille to check if we have any questions from the audience, and if we have questions, maybe we can address them either to any of us or to CPM. And if we don't, then we can circle around the table and close the session. Lucille?
Yes, so thank you all for a great session. We actually have one question. Someone is asking if you can detail the challenges of acquisition business a little more. For example, the short delay, system shutdown, the downgrade from ECC 6 to SBO, and so on.
João, do you want to take the question?
You are muted, João.
Yes. I can take this question. One of the, well, I will not discuss the last topic with a lot of details, downgrading or replacing ECC 6 with SAP Business One a lot.
No, why not? You have a project in China just doing that.
I don't have, in my life.
It's not a secret.
in my life, I think I was one of the first doing this back in 2005. A company that replaced an ECC system with B1. The reasons are various. It was technology, but it was not. It was technology, but mainly it was time. It needed a more agile system to be deployed, and for the functionalities that were needed to be delivered, it was a no-brainer. It's like Lonnie was saying, 30 days to deploy a system. On this particular company, it was 15 days to have the system up and running for 10 users. It was something, it was 10 days, very fast, but this happens a lot, and it will happen a lot. Replacing ECC with S4HANA and Business One, it will be something that will happen a lot for the future. As part of the acquisition game, it's what I can detail is one of the things that is companies really pay attention is on the roadmap and the countries that are going to be deployed when and how. The companies start by doing this, the due diligences on the companies that they need to acquire, and then they need to go back and also run they have different names, but usually it's called a rationalization plan, in which companies that are acquiring other companies will review the number of legal entities that the company that is acquired has, and the geographies that it will persist or that it will move. So, and based on this, it's like Sarp was mentioning, if now the solution is to acquire a company that is in Panama, but I'm going to move it to Miami, and it's the US, and I need to do it quickly, they will need to discuss with someone, okay, is this feasible? Is this feasible in the time that we want to go to market? And the US is something simple. But if we then start talking about other Latin America localizations like Brazil, then it's a different game. And this level of detail, understanding, doing this assessment is something that it's today a plus in the acquisition game. I will not discuss the financial acquisition. Is not this is not what this forum was what is about. But from an IT side, this is one of the plus and one of the things that companies ask more and more of us. And nowadays, if they are not our customers, even SAP, in the various SAP subsidiaries that are out there, they request for our support in this due diligence processes, because we are not assessing one country. We are assessing a 5-year or a 10-year plan, an acquisition strategy, and the route to market strategy that will impact multiple geographies, and that will require an expertise, and that it needs to make sense from the P&L and the capex, the money that these guys are putting into the game. And this is how we can help, and what we need to pay attention to. So I don't know if
Thank you.
The question, but if not,
thank you, João. I would like to add a little bit in the last 2 minutes. In the context of a merger and acquisition, or a PE acquiring a business and considering to downgrade ECC to another system like Business One, or migrating to S4, one of the reasons could be lower costs, and both Business One and S4 today can lower the costs of an ECC, or for running an ECC installation. But I also have seen something, and I'm going to take a sentence that was mentioned by Lonnie during the webinar, that SAP is adding more features to Business One, and today Business One has much more than what they considered when they selected. And this is one of the reasons that sometimes Business One is a solution to replace ECC. ECC may have been implemented in a company 20 years ago, and back then known as R3, and may have not been updated. And today, when you go to Business One, not only the UI, but the complete set of features are so modern that it may overlap ECC in some functionalities. You need less people to run the system, and you can run it on the cloud. And here, this is where it answers the question about downtime. Today, with high availability and the right cloud setup, you may run SAP Business One or S4 with zero downtime. So the downgrading ECC to Business One or upgrading or migrating to S4, it may have different reasons, and I'm open, and I think João is also open to discuss this in much more detail. And if you need, you can contact me directly. The contacts were shared, and I can go through this detail and even share examples of other customers that either from a PE standpoint or M&A or reducing budgets, downgraded to Business One or migrated to S4. But I think I answered the points. So yeah, so 1 minute to go. So thank you very much. Let's thank you, Sarp. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, João. Thank you, Lucille. And thank you, Lonnie. It was a very special day to count with you guys here today. Really, really special. I really appreciate your time. Sarp, you are in Switzerland today. And while the others are in the US, and Lucille, you are in France. So thank you very much. It's already late for you guys, and hope to see you soon in another webinar.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone, and looking forward to see you in our next webinar. Bye.